Hi, folks. This is Neil. Today is Sunday, April the 21st, and I'd like to say I'd like to wish myself a happy birthday. My birthday was on Friday, and I had a birthday dinner and I had a party at a local lounge where I usually uh, do nightlife photography at on a Friday night. And I'd like to thank everybody who came out to dinner and supported me, and who came out to the after party and supported me. Now I don't drink, but this weekend I didn't get wasted, but I had a few drinks. Actually, more. Actually, I had more drinks this whole weekend that I've had all year. So but anyway, I had a really great time this weekend, and also on my birthday is also the 20th anniversary of the Waco incident. For those of you who know and those who don't know, David Koresh at the Davidian complex in Waco, Texas, where four federal officers died, and I think 70 to 79 of the residents, including David Koresh, perished in a fire. And of course, there is a lot of controversy surrounding new evidence. States that there were gunshots fired first by the federal agents after the 51-day siege, the day of the fire, and that has now been known and proven to be true by scientists and a lot of investigators who have went through the evidence and found that indeed, and also through satellite imagery and video camera infrared imaging that showed that indeed, even though the federal agents claimed that, and the FBI claimed, the ATF claimed that no shots were fired by the agents, that has proven to be incorrect. That the agents did indeed fire weapons into the complex, possibly contributing to the level of fear and causing the fire that all those people and children perished. So, and there's a great documentary on that also, and it is called. One second here. Let me find. Actually, anyway, you guys can go on YouTube and look up the Waco incident, and you'll see tons of videos. But there's a documentary in particular, and I can't remember the name of it right now. But anyway, I wrote a quote about the Waco incident that I would like to read to you guys. And the quote goes like this. The government, actually, there's a guy in the video that made a brief statement, and I just kind of elaborated on the statement. And he says, but the quote is, the government of the United States cannot play God and indiscriminately take lives at will with impunity without evidence of any wrongdoing based on careful and factual distinction between terrorists and innocent citizens. God is a dictator. The U.S. government is not a dictatorship. For this simple reason, it is why the American Revolution was started, a constitution was drafted and enacted and made the law of the land to protect the people when the government turns tyrannical. So, and that's, I call that Remembering Waco, which was April 19th, 1993. So, back to the targeted individual situation. Of course, this week, because it's my birthday, they do a lot of things to try to mess up your birthday weekend or whatever. If you're a couple, your anniversary. If you're married, your marriage anniversary or whatever. It always seems to every day, but they basically heighten the surveillance, the targeting, around important events in your life. So, but despite that, I had a wonderful weekend, and I was actually doing some research today on constitutional law and there is a book that I actually just ordered, and let's see what's the name of the book. Okay, the name of the book is called The Constitution for Beginners, and the author's name is David W. New. And here is a quote actually from that book. The most important purpose of the United States Constitution is to confine, limit, restrict, and control the powers of the federal government. The intent of the Constitution is to control the government to limit the government conduct, not the individual citizen. So that is a great quote. I've also made a list. Actually, watched some videos and did some readings. I've compiled a list on the key concepts of the U.S. Constitution. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we as target individuals, not just target individuals, but people living in the United States, basically don't know the framework for the Constitution, and don't even know the basic stuff in the Constitution. When you're pulled over by a cop and all that kind of stuff, for whatever reason, you need to know certain things, okay, so your rights are not violated. And the Bill of Rights basically states a lot of the individual rights, but I'll probably go through that in another video. But this video is basically to help you guys familiarize yourself with the key concepts of the U.S. Constitution. And I'd like to start off first by a quote by Thomas Jefferson, which says, "The price of freedom is eternal vigilance." Now, first of all, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, they both work together. They go hand in hand. Okay, so the Declaration of Independence is a charter, and its purpose is basically to say, well, why was the United States founded and the core principles of its foundations. And the Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, 1776. The U.S. Constitution now is the bylaws. It's an organizational document, and it's basically, how we govern ourselves, basically. And it was signed on September 17, 1787 by 39 of the 55 delegates attending the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. And the Bill of Rights, of course, is a concerned listing of the rights of the citizens, resident aliens, and the states of the United States of America. So the first line in the Constitution, basically, it's like 52 words long, and it basically says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union," also, perfect union meaning like to connect the states, "to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for a common defense, to promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity," which means the liberty back then and the future, which is us now and forevermore. "Do ordain and establish this Constitution." Now, these six aspects of the Constitution are basically the framework in which the rest of the Constitution is designed to support and guide. Now, of course, we'll talk about our government. So we have three branches of government, right, which is the legislative, which also known as the Congress, and their role is to borrow and coin money, to regulate commerce, to regulate immigration, to set up post office and roads, infrastructure, to create an environment for good commerce, not the nonsense we had, in Wall Street, okay? That is not good commerce, and shipping most of American jobs overseas for less pay, where you don't have to pay health insurance, and leaving, the 99% in dire need of, of money and all that, resources and all that kind of stuff. So That is not what they meant by good commerce. To maintain the army, navy, militia, to declare war, to conduct impeachment, to oversee the District of Columbia, to make laws limited to the sixth purpose of the Constitution in these areas. Okay, one thing I like to mention here, where it says to declare war, only Congress can declare war, right? And only in the early, I believe, 30s is I'm not sure, when the president had all these executive rights to make executive decisions, but I'm pretty sure that that statement right there says that the president of the United States, him alone cannot declare war. He has to go through Congress. But I guess they're so lax, and when you have a Supreme Court that is elected by the president, or I guess they're just puppets, because the Constitution clearly states, and their job is also to uphold the Constitution. All branches of the government, their job is to uphold the Constitution. Okay, then the executive, which of course is the president, and the president's role is to be commander-in-chief, to appoint ambassadors, judges, and officers, to enforce the laws of the United States, to sign treaties and receive ambassadors, to grant pardons, to give the State of the Union to Congress. Nowhere does it say that the president has the power to declare war and to declare the murder and assassination of innocent American citizens. The executive branch is probably the second. The legislative actually has a little bit more power. They're all basically equal because of the balance and checks type of foundation. But the legislative branch, which is close to the people, have a little bit more power than the president, and then the executive, and then the judicial. So the judicial or Supreme Court, their role is to take appeals from citizens, courts, and states, to make principled judgment, to ensure jury trials, to uphold the Constitution. And like I said before, all three branches are to uphold and interpret the Constitution, not just the Supreme Court. So even at the founding of this nation, there was a great concern over the Supreme Court, or in the Constitution, the establishment of government. There was a great concern over the Supreme Court and judicial overreach or judicial tyranny, because judges were appointed for life, and they didn't want judges, taking it upon themselves to work outside of the Constitution and create laws which were unconstitutionally, violating the rights of citizens. But we all know that it's a different time, and people are bypassing the Constitution itself, and what it means for their own vested interests. Okay, so the Constitution is merely here's a few quotes. Excuse me a second. I usually don't like making videos where I'm touching my face or that kind of thing, because as a TI, that's how they basically target people by sending subliminal messages, and I don't want you guys to misconstrue my actions just now. So please excuse me. I don't want to remake this video again, because sometimes when I find myself doing that, I remake the video and I try to be just very non-active as far as touching my nose, scratching my face, that kind of thing. So I don't want to remake this video, so I'm just explaining to you guys, so don't, for TIs, target individuals out there, please excuse me. So here's a few quotes actually. Here's a quote actually by Thomas Jefferson, and it goes, "The Constitution is a mere thing of wax in the hands of the judiciary, which they may twist and shape into any form they please," which is what I was talking about as far as why the Supreme Court is the least powerful, because these judges are in extreme important positions in interpreting laws, and in some case, we don't want them to write laws that'll benefit them and not the people. So, um, so there you have it. And the balance of power over the courts, basically, the Congress established the jurisdiction of the court, and Congress can impeach judges. So if the judge is, let's say, going out of his way to interpret a law, or maybe even enact a law which is unconstitutional, uh, Let me just turn my phone off. Once again, I usually do these things with my phone turned off. But anyway, so Congress can impeach judges, and that kind of, I guess, balance out, works with the checks and balances, so that one branch of government do not get too powerful and try to do things that are unconstitutional. So Congress is slightly more powerful because, like I said, it's close to the people, and then the House of Representative, which includes the House of Representative and the Senate, and the President, of course, which is powerful in war and keeping the law. Otherwise, his power is basically medium, and the least powerful is the judiciary, which is designed to be checked and balanced. Once again, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are designed to work together. The Constitution is meant to control the government, and laws are meant to control the people. Okay, so the Constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government. And that quote was written by Patrick Henry. Here's another quote. This quote is from Thomas Jefferson again, and I love Thomas Jefferson because his mindset in helping to form the Constitution and to form the government, really, to me, I think he was probably the most thoughtful in how the Constitution should be written, and exactly the wording, and all the things that he did not want happen because of the monarchy and what they were doing. So he sought to make sure that with this new government, that in the Constitution, that he would basically, there would be provision made so that these types of incidences does not happen, and the rights of the people basically is far greater than any government that they had hoped to form. So this quote, I really love this quote. It says, "It would be a dangerous delusion were a confident in the men of our choice to silence our fears for the safety of our rights. That confidence is everywhere the parent of despotism. Free government is founded in jealousy and not in confidence. It is jealousy and not confidence which prescribe limited constitutions to bind down those whom we are obliged to trust with power. That our Constitution has accordingly fixed the limits to which and no further our confidence may go. In question of power, then let no more be heard of confidence in man, but bind him down from mischief by the chains of the Constitution." So you see, when we let our government sidestep the Constitution, this is what happened: mischief. Okay, and you see what happened on Wall Street when you deregulate commerce, and commerce is supposed to be fair, and it just creates a whirlwind, a total mess, chaotic. Here are a few more quotes. This is from Ayn Rand, and actually, she has a blog, an essay actually, which is very, very good. And the essay, the blog site actually is called Man's Rights. And it is, when I tell you, it is a great, great essay. And I think everyone should basically read this thing, like seriously. Like this is, when you talk about the rights of man and the framework for the U.S. Constitution or any constitution, her essay is top notch, top notch. I mean, this stuff is amazing. Okay, so her quote, it says, "The government was set to protect man from criminals, and the Constitution was written to protect man from the government. The Constitution is a limitation on the government and not an individual. It does not prescribe the conduct of the individual, only the government. It is not a charter for government power, but a charter of the citizens' protection against the government." And that quote was by another gentleman. I can't remember his name. Another quote: "The Constitution is not a law, but it empowers the people to make laws. The Constitution tells us what shall not be a lawful tender. The legislature has ceded up to us the privilege of enacting such laws as are not consistent with the Constitution of the United States. The different states and even Congress itself have passed many laws diametrically contrary to the Constitution of the United States," which is very true. And I don't know why constitutional lawyers are not, basically, on the steps of the Supreme Court, mad as heck about this. Clearly, the Constitution is not the law, but it sets the framework to which laws can be created which are just, that does not deny or take away or abuse the rights of the citizens. And for them to make laws that are contrary to the Constitution, it goes against America, basically. America is based on its Constitution. It's like, America is based on its word. Like you're based on your word when you say, when you promise some, people something, and people take you at your word. And the Constitution is the word of the words of the land. So when the judicial branch or create laws that are unconstitutional, and then you have the Supreme Court judges are constitutional lawyers. They have to know the Constitution in and out to be sitting on those benches, and then to uphold those unconstitutional laws, it's beyond me. It really goes beyond me. And that was a quote by Joseph Smith. Here's another quote. I think I've read this quote already, but I'm going to read it again. "The most important purpose of the United States Constitution is to confine, limit, restrict, and control the powers of the federal government. The intent of the Constitution is to control the government, to limit the government conduct, not the individual citizens." And that was from David W. New, and his book is called The Constitution for Beginners. And I hope that you guys read this. And I always carry this around. This is a pocket Constitution of the United States. And I got this from the American Civil Liberties Union. I've had this for a while now. And in high school, I actually had another pocket version of it also. But, this is very... if you don't have this in your home and you're living in America, then you need to get this. Like, seriously. Every home should have this. Every person should have this. So, and here is a quote also, and this is by James Madison, and this is a paragraph which was taken from the Federalist 51, And I've actually just gotten into reading that kind of stuff. So here it is. But the great security against a gradual concentration of the several powers in the same department consists in giving to those who administer each department the necessary constitutional means and personal motive to resist encroachment of the others. The provision for defense must, in this as in all other cases, be made commensurate to the danger of attack. Ambition must be made to counteract ambition. The interests of the man must be connected with the constitutional rights of the place. It may be a reflection on human nature that such devices should be necessary to control the abuses of government. But what is government itself but the greatest of all reflections on human nature? If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external or internal control on government would be necessary. In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. Checks and balances. A dependence on the people is, no doubt, the primary control on the government, but experience has taught mankind the necessity of auxiliary precaution, and that's by James Madison. And I'm gonna, excuse me again, I'm gonna tell you guys exactly, my take on this paragraph. Once again, checks and balances comes to my mind when I'm reading, this paragraph, and also the fact that separation of church and state comes to my mind also, because for those who know American history, the church basically controlled the monarchy in Europe, and the people here were heavily taxed. They would violate the rights of the settlers, and the church basically acted as judge, jury, and executioner. I mean, really, you think about the great travesties, the trampling of the rights of women, the trampling of the natural, the human rights, the sovereignty of black Africans, in colonial times. So, and also, just the government basically siding with the wealthy to crush the hopes of of workers, basically. So, the system of checks and balances is supposed to work, but I think today we're finding that the system of checks and balances does not work, because it seems like all three branches are either in cahoots or they're all afraid of each other. So when one steps over its boundaries, the other two says nothing, because there may be a time when one of those might step over its boundaries and may need the other two to basically support them. So that to me is just not a good idea in terms of our government and keeping the security and the trust of the people, which we send these elected leaders to Washington to represent us. So that is my take on that paragraph. A constitution should be structured to permanently protect the people from the human frailties of their rulers. I mean, it can't get any plainer than that. As we all know, men are very ambitious. Men fall prey to greed, corruption. So that little quote right there, really hits home. And also, before we go, I'd like to say that the Constitution can never become outdated because it focuses on controlling something which is basically never changing, right? The rights of the people, the rights of the individual, the sovereignty of the individual, the welfare of the people, the protection of the people, and of course the governing of the people and the laws in which we enact to govern ourselves in a civilized manner. So and basically just namely human nature, and just as ships use an anchor, you know we have to stay anchored to the Constitution and not drift apart from the Constitution. I know the big issue, separation of church and state, people claiming that that God created man. But that's for the religious folks. I'm an atheist, so God didn't create me. My mom and daddy created me, and before them, their mom and daddy, and so forth. But that's just my belief, and the Constitution protects my belief as well as the religious right. So when the religious right want to uh, seize separation of church and state, you have to realize that there are many people living in the United States with many different beliefs, and you cannot force someone to believe in what you believe in and to live the way you live. Okay, as long as people are not hurting other people and are not trampling the rights of other people, then, basically they have the right to live as they see fit. And you don't have the right to tell them how to live, or what to believe, or what to say, or where to go to school, or who they're sleeping with, or who to marry, that kind of thing. So always remember that. Separation of church and state is there to protect the non-religious and the religious, because we don't want an inquisition, that type of thing again. So so if we are to continue to enjoy our rights and freedom, we must stay anchored to the Constitution. Okay, we must stay anchored to the Constitution. So that's it for now. I know this video is kind of lengthy, but Oh, and also I learned a new lick on my guitar, and it's by Radiohead, and the song is called "I Could Be Wrong," and it's on the Amnesiac CD. So let me see if I can play it for you real quick. Hold on a second. Ha! Takes me a little while to get into it, but I've learned the rest of the song, but that's the first part that I've learned, and I'm excited. I love learning the guitar. I haven't been consistent with it, but I am going to an actual guitar studio, and so I can sit down with an instructor and because I learn better that way. I try to take online classes, but it just, for me, I'm just not disciplined taking the online guitar classes. So, but anyway, I had a wonderful birthday weekend, and once again, tributing the victims at Waco, the people at the Davidian complex, and also the federal agents who lost their lives. And this country was basically gripped in disbelief that the federal government would allow such a thing to happen, and also The fact that federal agents were used in a basically what I would call a domestic, a public incident is beyond me. I think there's somewhere in um, the Bill of Rights, or that says that, or actually in the Constitution that says that uh, that no military forces are to be used in public issues. So that is something that many people are wrestling with, and I know that many people are still hurting from that, and many people are distrust the federal government because of that. But the federal government is the big government, as the president says, and we have people that have been there for such a long time that they are basically stuck in their ways somehow, and so it's up to us, the voters, to vote these people out, and vote people who are going to ensure the longevity of the Constitution, and make sure that the ideas and the framework are upheld in the most strictest form, so that we don't have these kind of things happening on a regular. And also, my heart goes out to the Boston bombing, the marathon victims. I'm just not a proponent of violence at all, and especially when you attack innocent citizens. Um, that is just not a good way to bring any cause to light. It just makes people fearful, and it makes people hate, and it causes a lot of hurt. So my heart and my well wishes goes out to those people, and I like to do a little bit more, which I've done. I've kind of donated some stuff, some funds, to those victim families and stuff like that, because we all got to do our part. We all got to do our part. I could sit here and say, hey, I wish those people a speedy recovery. I wish them well. But you can send a card or something. There's a gentleman that has a website that the guy who the younger suspect in his boat, and his boat was riddled with bullets, and they're trying to raise funds to basically get him a new boat. So the guy did his civic duties, which is great, and but this type of stuff should never ever happen. And also the fertilizer plant explosion in Texas. I believe it was also in Waco, if I'm not mistaken. My heart goes out to those people as well. So anyway, had a great weekend, and I will do a video pretty soon. But I just want to touch base on the Constitution, because we all should know it, we all should read it, we all should study it somehow, so that we don't participate in unconstitutional behavior and ideologies that basically affects people in a negative manner. So have a great night, and I hope you guys had a good weekend, and I will make another video soon. Bye bye.